Welcome once again. President Bola Tinubu has given the green light for the Nigerian National Petroleum Company, NNPC Limited, to utilize the 2023 final dividends due to the Federation account to offset petrol subsidy payments. Additionally, the president has suspended the payment of 2024 interim dividends to the Federation to bolster NNPC's cash flow. This is according to a report done by the cable. According to NNPC's forecast, the cumulative petrol subsidy bill is expected to hit 6.884 trillion naira by December 2024, leaving the company unable to remit 3.987 trillion naira in taxes and royalties to the Federation account.
The National Oil Company attributes the subsidy payments to the devaluation of the Naira and forex pressure, which has led to a significant increase in the subsidy bill. The approval comes after NNPC's Group CEO Mele Kyari warned that the company might not be able to sustain petrol imports beyond July 2024 due to the subsidy burden. Meanwhile, at the NNPC's 2023 full-year result presentation on Monday, the Chief Financial Officer of the Nigerian Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, Alhaji Umar Ajiya, disclosed that the government pays the company to sell PMS at half price of the landing cost, what he calls shortfall. Joining us is oil and gas consultant Sowunmi Olabode. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
All right. Also joining us is the Chief Economist. Okay, he'll be joining us later. But Mr. Sowunmi, let's talk about what exactly is going on. At the resumption of President Bola Tinubu's time in office, he said subsidy is gone. And for a while, Nigerians believed that subsidy was gone, talking about the gains that they had made because subsidy was gone. And now we're hearing about shortfalls, which seems like another name for subsidy. So what really is shortfalls? And is this, is this safe to say that subsidy isn't really gone?
Okay, thank you. I think there is a dynamic, a fluidity about the subsidy thing that isn't very much in the public space. The first thing is that basically a subsidy is a gap, a delta between what is the actual price of a product or a service or a commodity and what it is being made available to the market for. So basically, at the time of a resumption, when they removed all those figures, subsidy technically was gone. But petroleum products is dollar denominated at the roots. So the moment the dollar exchange to the Naira fluctuated and the Naira was devalued, then subsidy technically came into the play. So basically what you are having, or what was happening at that time, and what was happening now is that even though the government had removed subsidy, which came with some hardship because of the increase in fuel prices and all that, the issue was that the fluctuation in Naira ensure that another figure came with the price. Because technically, if you look at what's available in the national market, it's about 930 or 940 Naira for a liter of petrol. And obviously, we're not selling it at that price, at least not yet officially. So definitely there is a gap. So what basically has happened in my mind is that the government has lacked the the political will to actually announce the facts of the matter. And so this is where there's a balance of play here. Governance and even the people within the NNPC owe it to us to learn to communicate better. And then there are more issues at play, which is more than just the fact that there is a gap in the amount. We need to look at the brokerage fees. We need to look at the amount of petrol that we actually bring in. That is where the dollars and cents really matter, because the devil is usually in the details.
Yeah, I mean, is this a communication problem in particular? Or is the government just being dishonest completely with the idea of paying subsidy? Mostly because it doesn't want to go back on President Tinubu's claim that subsidy is gone. Is that where, or would you say that that's maybe where the problem is? Just being afraid to reverse that statement and accept that we are paying actual subsidy. And then also, what are your thoughts on bundling of the NNPC and clean up its books? It doesn't seem to have had a very, very, clear financial status for quite a while.
Okay, so I wouldn't call it outright dishonesty. So, and the reason is that like I said, at the time when the announcement was made, the petrol was selling at the figure that the figure with which the increment was technically removing subsidy, but it came with a lot of hardship, and the hardship had not lasted long enough for the difference to be enjoyed by the people. So the moment there was an increase, don't forget that the increment is not in Naira. The increment is in dollars. So the moment there was an increase, particularly when there was a fluctuation between the Naira and the dollar, there was a gap. So that's just the reality of the matter. And at the moment when the dollar exchange to the Naira changed, obviously everything also changed. So it's at that time, or the circumstances leading to that time, that there was a need to also tell the people. So it's just semantics. It's just semantics, and they really don't know how to go about it. It's not about dishonesty. It's just that there are factors outside the circle of influence of government.
Amen. Okay. Anyway, I probably will bring back the question, but let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue with this conversation. Stay with us. Welcome back this morning, of course, continuing the conversation this morning on the NNPC and its decision to use funds generated to once again pay subsidy, or shortfall as they've called it. We're joined this morning by oil and gas consultant Sowunmi Olabode. Ms. Olabode, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. So I was initially asking you about having some clarity with the NNPC's financial statement. Some people would argue that it hasn't really had a very clear financial statement in quite a while that would help Nigeria understand, or Nigerians rather understand, exactly what the picture is with the funds that the NNPC generates, and how it eventually utilizes those funds.
Well, I'm not exactly a financial expert. I don't deal with figures like that, but I do remember. My first job was in KPMG, and I was in the consulting arm, not financial. It was IT consulting, and consulting. Financials. That's accounting practice. They usually have all these standards and all that. I think it's incumbent upon people like ICANN and ANAN and all those financial bodies to also do a duty to Nigeria to help us analyze those statements, because basically those statements are produced by those consulting, the big four. If it's not Pricewaterhouse, it's KPMG, Ernst & Young. Those are the kind of people that do those things. So if there's lack of clarity in a lot of things, it's usually in the details. It's usually made by those people who are considered experts in those things. So those are the people that can really dive into the details and tell us that there are a lot of gaps that are missing. Because even in things where you have proper headings, sometimes by accounting principles and accounting laws, some of those headings may actually mean the same thing. And if you are not really in that field, you may not know. So I don't doubt you to say that the financials are not properly labeled and that they are not clear. But I am not that person who can actually speak to the reason why they are what they are and if things are being hidden in the figures.
All right. So at this point, Nigerians are also a bit confused as to what exactly is going on regarding the petrol scarcity. NNPC has given its reason being logistics issue. At this point, who should Nigerians hold accountable? Many have asked of the Minister of Petroleum, the person of the President. Others have asked for the Group CEO of NNPC, Mele Kyari, who is currently not in the country. But who at this point should Nigerians hold responsible with things not having, been put in place that they should have to be able to guarantee the free flow of petrol and availability of product?
Well, holding somebody responsible and accountable and getting the system to work are two different things. And I keep saying this so that we can have a clear and proper perspective. as Nigerians, because what we really want to do is for the system to work, not to have somebody to blame. But we tend to, it's okay. It's a perspective to hold. It's also a miracle thinking that just one thing. So if you have somebody who is a head of a body or head of an organization, yes, the thinking and all responsibility relies on the head. But when it comes to the execution and the reality of things, the head is not the feet, the head is not the hands, the head is not the internal organs, the head is just, is the head. And for everything to work, the head and the feet and the, organs, so you look at it like a football team. The coach is ultimately responsible for all the results and the things that happen with the football team. But the coach is not the players. So there are situations where the players may choose to sabotage the instructions of the coach. It does happen. And when such things happen, what you want to look at is to look at the causative factors for these things. And where we don't know the causative factors, for us to drill down and find out why information being missing. Yes, ultimately, at the end of the day, the president will, overall responsibility. But the president is not the one looking for vendors to supply petrol. The president is not the one that is holding the supply chain that will ensure that petrol gets to the filling station. The president is not the petrol attendant, nor is he the person who is responsible. So when you look at the supply chain, that is what we know today of the downstream finished product. There are gaps in the process. They can't just tell us thunderstorm. Yes, they can say that, but they just can't say that because there's supposed to be redundancies in the process. There are supposed to be other things that should happen. And where that information is missing, it's incumbent upon the NNPC group to for us to put pressure on the NNPC group or NNPCCL to let us know why those things are. So when they say there's a thunderstorm somewhere, why is it that other times when there's been thunderstorms in the history of Nigeria, there has not been scarcity? Why is it that the same thunderstorms that happened did not affect other countries? There are questions that need to be asked. So my point in all of this is that, yes, we can hold the president responsible, we can hold NNPCL responsible, but it's more than just holding somebody responsible. It's the fact that there isn't enough information and there isn't enough details into what exactly is happening for us to be able to say these are the causative factors and for us to be able to address the things that need correction within the supply chain that will ensure that we are not held hostage by forces who may want to take advantage of the uncertainties in the environment so that they can further their own interests.
But it's meant to be some person's or a group of persons' responsibility to ask those questions, and if we've repeatedly had these situations happen, every couple of months, and we still don't have proper answers to those questions, so we still have to go back and blame the Minister of Petroleum for that failure. The players that you mentioned, if they are the ones that are responsible, there's meant to be a person whose group responsibility would be to ensure that those players do not continue to jeopardize the system, don't you think?
Like I said, we can blame, but are we looking for somebody to blame or are we trying to solve the situation? So that's where perspective comes in. So it's like there are people that when they get into a crisis, into a problem, they just want friends to be around them and sympathize with them and blame somebody and, just talk about the problem. But there are those who want a solution. And so they will address the difficult questions that those who want sympathies around them will not address. What I'm basically saying is that we can blame anybody. It's neither here nor there. We can even blame the whole system. We can blame God. We can blame. There's no problem. We can blame. But is that what we want?
Yeah, but it's not the role of the... So this is my point. It's not the role of the average Nigerian and, the role that he should play, aside, being a good citizen, is to, at least play some level of opposition, which includes blaming. or at least trying to understand it.
Maybe not
the
blame,
role
I
of the
think it's
person,
more of holding accountable.
whichever term that we want to
Right.
use, but the person whose responsibility would be to fix are the people who are elected into office. So if you say we can't blame, we can provide, it's not the average Nigerian's role to fix that thing, to provide solutions and figure out how these problems can be solved. There's people who have been elected to, or at least appointed to play that role. Nigerians can only blame, or can only do the best that they can to hold one person or the other to account. We seem to have lost the connection there with.
Right. Or maybe it's also time to start to revisit the conversation about whether or not the logic behind having the president to be the Minister of Petroleum is a logic that still holds water, or one that is still valid in 2024.